Thanks for tuning in. This is Jones welcoming you to episode 6 of CRT Gaming Podcast, featuring Strider 2 for the Sony PlayStation 1. Joining me this evening is Dazpick. Welcome, Dazpick.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Doing good. How are you tonight?
Not too bad.
Excellent. And then with me, as always, is Mr. Gohan. How are you, Mr. Gohan?
You can call me Strider Gohan this evening.
Oh, he is one of the Strider clan. That is very fitting because this last game of the platforming trilogy we've done is Strider 2, and it was chosen by Mr. Gohan himself. So maybe Mr. Gohan can give us a moment and tell us how he came up with this decision.
Well, we did Klonoa, and that was an awesome kind of classic platformer. And Daz chose, Rocket Knight, which definitely was a mascot platformer as well. So, I don't know, I just wanted to kind of do something a little bit different. And I think when we first started talking about doing this was trying to introduce each other to new games that maybe we haven't played yet. So, Strider is a game that I got a long time ago, but I never really put much time into it because time was scarce then. Not exactly a mascot, platformer, but has a lot of great platforming aspects to it.
Nice, yeah, it's definitely, I didn't know this game even existed, in all honesty. It is, but it is definitely has a lot of callbacks and nods to the original Strider that was in the arcade and Genesis, and I think TURBOGRAFX had a version of it. Let's see, this game basically came out in the year 2000, the mighty Y2K. Somehow we lived through it. The world didn't end.
Strider saved us.
He may have. I remember those days because that was.
Oh my god!
Well, I mean, that's a part of the story, right? Is every 2,000 years the Grand Master comes back. So, I mean,
yeah.
I'm just read into that what you will, people.
Should you buy milk and bread if the Grand Master's coming? Because maybe that's what's going on. Milk, water, bread.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about that for another 2,000 years, so we're okay.
Excellent. But yeah, the game itself came in a 2-disc set for the PlayStation. There was a disc 1 and a disc 2. One disc contained Strider 2, and the other disc contained basically a port of the arcade version. I did hear, I don't own a physical copy of it, but I did hear that the discs are labeled incorrectly. Is that true, Gohan?
Yeah, out of the three of us, I own the physical release of this game, and I remember definitely being confused when I purchased this because, one, I wanted the new game, but two, just having a arcade quality port of the first game was definitely a part of why I was, excited about it. And I remember actually contacting my friend who also purchased it at the same time and asking whether or not he was seeing the same thing I was.
I could see that being confusing. I guess it's Strider 2. It's a Strider. They straight up Nintendo'd me. Let's see.
Yes.
But yeah, the gameplay had a lot of similarities with the first Strider. It was a little more fast-paced, and it was basically like a quasi 2.5D game where you had basically 3D backgrounds and sprites were general 2D sprites were the main character and enemies. It had a really cool look to it. I would have liked to have played this back then.
Yeah, I mean, it had the 2.5D kind of setup that Klonoa did. Although, Klonoa, I think, made incredible use of that, coming in and out of the perspective and stuff like that. Strider, it was really used mainly for effect, essentially. There wasn't a whole lot of kind of coming in and out of the camera frame and stuff like that, but they did definitely do a lot of pretty awesome effects with the hardware that they had back then.
Yeah, and I was kind of reading over just the main plot of this game. So this takes place 2,000 years after Strider 1. And the Grandmaster has returned. So maybe this is kind of where they got the plot idea for the latest Star Wars movie.
Oh,
but yeah, basically the character you're playing is a clone of the original Strider. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So you are him, you're just a clone of him. And you are the last Strider. They were wiped out somehow. Does anyone know any lore? Like what happened to the Striders? Did they just disappear like the Jedi?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Bad
like
virus, COVID.
Oh man, yeah, it is 2000. So like 2020 hit. Like, bam.
See, this is starting to add up a little bit.
Well, he does wear a face mask. I mean, that can't just be for fashion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, go on.
Yeah, he didn't wear one in the first game, so yeah.
You know,
That's how he survived.
We're gonna bring you back, but just a pro tip: you're gonna need to wear this mask.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like they kind of describe the Striders as this kind of group of heroes, and Strider Hyrule is the kind of the last standing Strider, but yeah, they definitely didn't answer any more questions about the kind of fiction in this game. It's very much like the first game, where it's just a lot of impressions and just small clips of storytelling.
Yeah. Let's get to some of the details of this game. Because you kind of have to compare it to like Strider, 1, since it is a sequel. Like some things that happened in 1 that didn't happen in 2, or So, like for example, like in the gameplay, like Strider 1 had like power-ups you could kind of get, but they weren't like in the form of like a robot, or like a falcon type thing, or like a robot panther. Like they were just creatures that you could get. And I found that missing in Strider 2. I thought that was kind of a cool aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of like a big part of the arcade game, right? Is this idea where, there's power-ups for your health and sword speed and all that, and, sword range, but there was this kind of idea that you would unlock the little familiars who would follow you through the level doing different types of things that were useful.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely like a cool touch to the game. But there's a lot of things I really did enjoy in this game. I thought it looked great. In addition to looking great, I thought the controls were pretty solid. I didn't have any problems with the controls at all. I do feel that the game itself had when you died, you could like literally continue from the second you died at, which I was thankful for, because it allowed me to get through the game without like wanting to pull my hair out. I didn't think it was overly difficult game, but I know it would have took a lot longer to get through it had I not been able to do that. So like, had I bought it in the day, maybe I'd been a little disappointed that, you can just blow through it like that. It was a fun ride. I thought the music was pretty cool. The enemies, the visuals were cool. I dig the levels, how they would scale in and out, to give the impression like, you could see more of what was going on the screen. And it had a lot of cool things to it. It had a lot of nods to the original.
For sure.
Yeah, what was your take, Daz?
I enjoyed it. It was a fun ride. Like you said, I mean, it was quick, but sat down, plowed through it. I will say I wasn't really digging into the story or anything too much. I was just kind of noticing the familiarity from the callbacks to the first Strider, and so I was like, oh wait, again, because I wasn't reading it, because I was just trying to plow through it, and then I was like, wait a minute, is this a remake of the first game? So I should have paid more attention to that. But the gravity ball boss, I love that from the first game. Having that back in there was really cool. The little fight on the skiffs, which was like one of the early levels in the first game, all that little stuff like that was really neat. Having a double jump was awesome. Definitely could have used that in the first game. Must have learned that in cryostasis, or when he was just a cell. But that was a nice touch. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't remember it being that easy. I don't, but it's been a long time. I remember playing it before. Current Christ, I didn't remember it was 2000 when it came out. Jesus. But yeah, that I had a good time with it. It was a great looking game. It did make me go and play the new version that came out a few years ago. Right
on PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I've got it on PC and everything. Yeah, it's great. It's basically, I mean, it's just a really polished and shiny, pretty version, but it's a lot harder. But yeah, it was cool playing that one too. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of, to kind of agree with both you guys, it's like, there was a lot of cool things that they kind of brought over from the first game, like the gravity boss. I actually liked the reverse gravity levels where Strider's playing on the ceiling and stuff like that.
You people are crazy.
I don't know, like there's something fun, about that as like a little interlude.
There's a lot of cheap deaths on that shit in the first game, though. I will say that.
Yeah, well, it's just like my opinion. Like there was too much of it in this game, but had I just recently also played, Strider 1 again, since it came with the disc, that's got its fair share of it in too, So I can't really say it's got more or less. It is faithful to Strider 1. It's just not my favorite thing.
I'll say Strider 1 was a hell of a lot harder.
Oh, good lord, yeah.
But a lot of that was also not only the fact that it had a fail condition, but there was a lot of shit in the controls on that game that were pretty annoying. Like if you fall off of a ledge, you just fall straight down and you have no control over what to do. You can't jump or slide left or right. Kind of like the thing you were complaining about in Sparkster when he shot straight up in the air and he came back down. You couldn't do shit about it. So in Strider 1, that shit was really annoying. But in Strider 2, you had much better control over the character. And so those kind of things weren't really present. But holy shit.
I completely agree. I mean, like, the controls of the character were still very clearly awesome, polished Capcom stuff. The thing that I think threw us all for a loop was the fact that it was such a and it makes sense, because we kind of did a little bit of digging on this, but this game was also released at the arcade in parallel, apparently, and it totally is designed as a quarter buncher. There isn't a fail condition. You could just keep pumping quarters into it and advanced. And I think it took a lot of, the suspense out of what Strider was before, because the first Strider game, whether it was the Genesis version or the arcade, it was not a totally easy game. This felt, kind of the opposite.
I looked up, as he had mentioned, it was an arcade game, and it was actually on Sony's System 16, which is the ZN2 board system, and that had back when the PlayStation first came out, like they had like arcade games did come out, like that's what like Star Gladiator, Street Fighter EX2, EX2 Plus. Let's see, Rival Schools. That's what all those games were done in the arcade on, was that system board, as well as Strider 2. That was kind of interesting.
Cool.
And did you guys have any moments in the game that particularly struck out to you? One for me was, this is a gripe before I get there, is I did feel the game loaded way too much. I don't know why.
They got that from the first game too.
Well, I mean, I could understand, like, if the game, the memory's full, it needs to clear it. But I mean, I played the PlayStation. I know tons of games that didn't suffer this, and I didn't feel like this game was throwing so much stuff that it had to do that. But like the one level right towards the very beginning, where it's kind of, the movement is kind of like diagonally into the screen, and you're like fighting on top of floating cars. That was like such a short thing, but I thought that was something they really missed on, because that gave me a feeling of it reminded me of Einhander a little bit by Square, because there's a level like that. I just really liked that part, and I wished it was longer.
I mean, I think that's just really like a big part of the experience, walking away from this game was there were so many good elements about it, like whether it's how it controlled or, just some of the ideas and mechanics inside of it was really not put to awesome use on this, ultra fast, beat it in an hour kind of game. There was a deeper game that could have been created, I think, with, the system, as opposed to the, straight on action, arcade quarter buncher game.
Yeah, is there any moment that's really stuck out to you, Dazpick, on something you enjoyed or maybe hated?
No, there was nothing I hated. I think the thing that stuck out to me was when I beat it and I played as the other Strider. How the game was already fairly easy because of the lack of a fail condition. But, oh my god, it got so much easier with that guy because he was so stinking OP. Like, I was...
Strider Hien.
Oh my god, yeah, I was blasting through levels with that guy. I mean, I just jump across the screen, throw out the 3 little seeking boomerangs, and they would just kill everything on screen, and then they come back, I throw them out again, and everything was just dying. I didn't touch anything. I was like, oh, this is fantastic. That stuck out to me. But I mean, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It's definitely, what's a good way to put this? It's
in English.
It's like dessert. It's dessert. It's just good to have. It's easy to play through it. You can enjoy it, put it down, and walk away. And that was nice.
Yeah, he was pretty overpowerful.
Oh my god, yes.
As I was beating a lot of things where it was like the game wasn't ready to load, like the game had to think about it for a second before it loaded. You just get to the boss and just smash it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the especially picking the game up again after so long. Like, the first thing that kind of struck to me, because I didn't really know what I was getting the 3 of us into, but the first thing I see when I start slashing the bad guys is the blue Zenny coins coming off them. And it reminded me of Forgotten Worlds. I was like, is Strider gonna unlock stuff by is there going to be a storefront where he spends Zenny to
Wait, you didn't find the shop?
What?
You didn't find the shop?
No.
I'm just kidding. Wait, there was no shop, man.
Oh my god.
You guys, the start button, right? Shop.
Oh god, it's like it's one of those things where you play games and you watch people play it afterwards on YouTube and you miss one key and part of how to play the game, so that would not surprise me.
I didn't know you could even do that.
No dice. There was no storefront and upgrade tree for Strider Hyrule.
I will give it. This is my major complaint with the game. Here, if I got one bad thing to say about it, is
negative.
This game, it needed the voices from Strider 1.
Come here, you.
It needed more crazy talk. It needed the ha 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 ha. It needed the laugh. That guy just says some crazy stuff. He's
what's being communicated to the player in Strider 1 with all the different digitized different languages that are subtitled, it definitely could have benefited. I think that was the thing, Jones. There were 2 of the things. One was the companions weren't in the game, but I was like, where is the weird ass digitized banter between the bad guys? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there's one. He said something about death or die from the old gods or something. I don't remember the direct quote, but it was I'm just watching it what is this Grandmaster? What is going on? Is he Serpentor? Is he the Emperor?
He comes back every 2,000 years, and the Striders must they're kind of like this, League of Shadows from Batman, and whenever the Grandmaster appears, I guess, the Striders, go and take him to justice. But I'm still. I've played all these games. I still have no idea what's going on.
I'll say this because we had to play around with the first game too, and I went and I played it on the Genesis first, and the Genesis version because that's the one I was really familiar with, and then I went back and I played the arcade version that came on the disc, and the arcade version it was really good. It had a lot cleaner animations and things like that. It was colorful. But I gotta say that the Genesis version did a hell of a good job replicating the arcade.
Oh, it was amazing.
And I don't know how the hell they managed that, but kudos, because it was awesome. Now,
I mean, it was impressive back in the day, no doubt about it.
That being said, and I talked with Jones about this earlier, playing through the first game, there was so much shit that I just wouldn't put up with today as far as like annoying deaths. But when that was the only thing available on the Sega Genesis, which was at the time for a very long time, that was the game that came out and it was fucking amazing. And so you played the shit out of it. And I did. I mean, I played it nonstop till I beat the hell out of it. And it was great. But now that there's so many games and so many options, that shit that happens in the first game and the ways you die and the lack of control when you fall and like when the gravity level when you get hit by one bullet that sends you careening up into space and out of the building and into the atmosphere, into the zero oxygen of space. I was like, okay, this this is really annoying. I think that's like the last level when all that shit's going down. But again, when it was on Genesis and that was all you had to play, you power through that kind of shit. Yeah, I was glad the new game, the second game, didn't have that, or at least that the fail condition was pretty much non-existent. But it was just a fun revelation that I had while I was playing it. I was like,
times
that's really annoying.
Definitely changed. When it comes to that stuff. In modern games. Yeah. But I mean, back at the time, like, Daz worked at an arcade, in the town that we all lived in, and there's two arcades, and he worked at the larger one, but the smaller arcade had Strider, and I remember, going to the movies, and of course, they put the cool new machine right by the front of, the arcade. And I remember seeing it and I'm like, Striker? Like, I couldn't exactly read what the marquee said. I was like, okay, this looks cool. But like, upon closer inspection, I mean, like, it was at the time, a pretty amazing kind of tour de force, really. Like, I remember, telling my friends after, playing the game, my big, high watermark for a game back then was it looks like a cartoon. It looks like a cartoon. Yeah. And holy shit, did like Strider just look amazing. And the arcade game was really one of the big CPS1 hits. And man, like as a tech demo, like it was pretty awesome. And yes, when it came out on the Genesis and to see it like faithfully recreated, it was absolutely worth the insane $69.99 in whatever $1993, whatever that is today. It was totally worth the price of admission. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, when you look at that, original arcade game and the Genesis game, it's like there's a whole lot of forgiveness going on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Genesis actually won in 1990. The Genesis adaptation of Strider won an award for best graphics in a video game for 1990. breast.
They won a reward for its breasts.
The original recipe.
Which game are you guys playing?
Wait, you didn't see that level either?
The store, and I didn't see all the the rated R content.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like the thing that was memorable for me was just kind of it was very much a straight on like arcade game. But the thing that kind of blew my mind, as I was, playing this game was just like, wow, they put a ton of time into lots of different, pixel art bad guys, like the characters, there's a ton of stuff in there, and it's like, it goes by just like in a flash, no pun intended, like it goes by so quickly, and it's like, man, like what, I don't know, I guess maybe my expectations were a little bit off. Like I was kind of expecting more of an adventure game, but instead it was the exact opposite. It was even more of a, it was an even smaller experience than the first Strider arcade, the sequel. And yeah, there's like so much going on in this game with the different, and once again, it's like from the original game, there's like this globe trotting, different destinations that you go to. And I don't know, I just wanted to kind of explore those places more. It seemed like you just went through it on a roller coaster,
It was a roller coaster. I did enjoy the pixel art, because this, well, kind of now you do with indie games, but like back when this came out, like this was at a time where pixel art was pretty much dead. Like the systems are all 3D now. You would get the occasional fighting game that was still pixel art, but outside of that they were pretty much gone.
Oh, I mean, Sony was trying to mandate, developers make 3D only games, and this definitely was kind of a dark horse when it comes to, that.
Yeah, it was 3D.
Kind of, sort of.
I think that's how they got around it. So yeah, totally, it's 3D world. Look, see, it's rotating, it's moving.
Move the camera. I rest my case.
2D images dancing around the screen.
All right. So it seemed like everybody had a pretty favorable opinion of this game. Let's go ahead and try to give it some type of ranking here. Now, should we rank it as a set? Because you get 1 and 2 with the purchase. So
For sure.
So I'll go with Mr. Gohan. You chosen this game after going through and playing it. What kind of rating would you give it from a 1 to 10?
So, I definitely have to say that I am a fan of these games, and once again, things are always like, the context of when they came out plays a huge part of it, right? We were talking about how, kind of brutal and unforgiving and, parts of this game are, and, taking that into account, I kind of feel the same way about this game, and when I refer to this game, I'm talking about both discs, the complete package. I feel the same way about this game as I do about Ninja Warriors, which was, man, if I, bought this, rented this back in the day, I think that, I would have walked away with a pretty favorable impression. If I'd purchased it, like that might be a little bit more, that might move the rating, a little bit. But, with Strider 2 and 1, and the version of Strider 1 is a pretty arcade, faithful, port of it, I would probably put this as at around an 8. Separately, I would say Strider, Strider 2 is probably like a 6 or a 7 at best,
Okay, fair enough. How about you, Mr. Dazpick? Kind of rating would you slap this gem with?
I agree totally with that. An 8. I mean, like I said, it's dessert. You just walk up, play it, beat the shit out of it in an hour or so, then walk away and find something else to do. Or if you're feeling like you want some pain, play through the arcade original. Yeah, and well, I gotta say this just real quick. One thing I loved about the original arcade was, and this really wasn't in the sequel, and I kind of wish it was. But I really loved when there was huge bosses. Like, and in the first game, you had the big ape, the big robotic ape that you had to fight for half a second, and then the thing in the jungle. With the arm that shot out and poked you in the face.
It,
Yeah, I mean, all that shit, just things that took up like a large portion of the screen. That's one of the things I loved about Revenge of Shinobi. That it had that kind of stuff in it. You had the giant Godzilla that you were fighting and shit like that. And I just really enjoyed that. And I kind of wish that there was some really oversized bosses in the second one. But, you know, again, it was fun. They did have the gravity ball, which I loved. I thought it was really cool how you get trapped in its orbit and you're stabbing it, slicing it up, and then you get tossed against the wall, whatever. But it was cool. I enjoyed it. An 8 easy
sounds
for the
fair.
set.
My review will come in. I would give Strider 2. I'd give it a 7. I think it'd be like the perfect like type rental game if you rented it, or if you were a big fan and wanted to keep it. It was a fun playthrough. I really enjoyed it. You know, and then judging between the two, I'd have to give Strider 1 a 10. Not necessarily because it is a 10, but it is a very accurate port of the arcade, which is, you know, it can't be anything other than the arcade. Just Strider 1's hard. It's hard. I want to beat my head.
See, like Strider 2 does not know how easy his life is. But Strider 1, man, like that's a real Strider for you folks.
Oh, I got depressed
Clones.
when I just watched. I had beat it, and I got to witness the ending. Like after like an epic, like just want to like throw something out the window, like final level battle to win, and then it just ended. You know, and he's like whale surfing off into the sunset, and
See, you don't understand. He earned that, Jones. He earned that. He killed a Grandmaster. He killed a Grandmaster.
That.
You know,
I guess
he earned
maybe
that. You know, surf, you know, adventure without whale at the end of Strider 1. He earned that.
well, maybe that's like his thing. You know, like if the Grandmaster comes back every 2,000 years, maybe his purpose is to kill the Grandmaster. So like he can only do this every 2,000 years. So maybe it's like his after-sex cigarette or something. You know, that's how he just. Yeah, just gets on a whale,
enjoyment.
just goes for a ride.
Dude, he rides off into the sunset. I mean, Strider, after you kill a Grandmaster, you write your own checks. You can do whatever you want. Like, it's just, you get to the fast lane at the supermarket, you get, you know, free luggage when you fly, you know, over air. Like,
you get like double air miles, you're living
whatever.
large.
You're like, it's like a platinum card, wherever you want to go.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad everybody enjoyed this game. Next week, we're preparing for something new. Dazpick has something special planned for us. I don't know, but what I do know is he's excited, and I do know Dazpick well enough that's either A, it's going to be amazing, or B, it's going to be so bad it's amazing. So I'm going to hand this off to Dazpick, and he's going to let us know what's going down next week.
Oh God, be merciful, Daz.
Okay. All right. So we've been talking about all kinds of different things lately, especially regarding the month, which it's going to be October, and so that got us kind of leaning into monsters and horror and gothic games and things like that. And I was dancing around some different ideas, but after the Sparkster debacle, I really wanted to just talk about something that I wholeheartedly enjoy the living fuck out of. And I can think of nothing more that I enjoy than 90% of the Castlevania series. It is hands down one of my favorite series, collections, whatever. I f***ing love it. And so, being that there's so many games, I don't give a shit which one you play. Pick one you like, and let's just talk about it. I'm going to pick one I like. We can figure out which one we're each playing after, but we're talking Castlevania.
Okay, well, I mean,
Through and through.
With that being said, Daz, like, you know, usually we say what, you know, the first game is. What is your pick?
I'll do Symphony of the Night.
All right, you know, you're going in with what might be, I don't know, probably the most popular Castlevania game historically.
Like I said, I love all of them. I love all of them. That was the one, and then that's the cutoff point. Also, after the success of that game, they started just, hey, we can make money. Let's make a bunch of Castlevania games and throw them on PlayStation 2, and they kind of started taking a little nosedive for a minute.
Awful, those N64 games.
Yeah,
I left a mark. I left a mark on those.
It did. Konami started getting greedy, and they paid the price for it. But Symphony of the Night is the cutoff point, so I'll do that one. You guys take any other one you want aside from that. And yeah, I just want to talk about some shit we love, man. And I can't think of another series that I love more than that one.
I can't think of a better kind of theme for October.
So just sit down, chat, and talk about something we actually enjoy.
So I'm gonna have to do some deep thought, some soul searching on which Castlevania I'm gonna choose here. So you'll just have to stay tuned next week to find that out. Do you know what you're gonna choose off the top of your head, Mr. Gohan?
Man, I mean, there are so many awesome games. In Castlevania, there's the action Castlevania games, and then there's the more kind of adventure games, and the less than great 3D games. But I mean, it's a series that's been around for 20, 30 plus years now, so there's a lot of cool stuff to talk about there. But no, I don't know the answer to that question.
Fair enough. Well, everybody, you got to stay tuned in next week to see which games we actually choose and how Dazpick is just going to be like a pig in shite rolling over as to how happy he is playing Castlevania.
Yep.
So tune in next week to find out. This is Jones along with Dazpick and Gohan, and we will catch you next week.
Until next time.
Peace.